Hey folks, this is Jamie at the editing desk, wanting to give you a heads up that the audio quality on the episode you're about to listen to is way lower than normal because we did this in a hurry on cheap microphones hooked up to my phone and recorded in my sister's car. But things should be back to normal next time when the studio is back together again. Anyway, enjoy the story of Aaron Burr.
It's fucking chainsaw history time.
Greetings from Bambi's car, everybody.
Hello.
I'm sure the neighbors are wondering what the fuck we're doing just sitting here talking randomly.
No, because it's hot as fuck outside, and sometimes you don't want to deal with the dogs.
I guess so. So, welcome to Chainsaw History, a mini episode that we're recording once again in my sister's car while Kevin is tearing the recording studio apart and putting it back together again. But so that's why instead of professional broadcast mics and a nice studio, you're getting stuff we recorded on my phone with microphones I bought on the TikTok shop.
Nice. While that still exists.
This just kind of reminds me of our little old Renegade recordings we did back in the day.
You know, I enjoyed that to a point. It was such a learning experience.
No idea what we were doing. So I've ambushed you with this one. I've not even told you what we're talking about. So you're coming in at colder than ever.
Yeah, no, I didn't even know we were going to record today.
Yeah, well, when you said you were going to come over yesterday and you didn't, I actually sat down and banged out a script in like 2 hours. So this is about half of the length of a typical topic. But yeah, it's because it was inspired by the news cycle. You been having fun with the news lately?
No, nobody has. I mean, except for the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. That's funny.
Yeah, and it's like, well, the exception of the Epstein thing, which isn't going away. Mostly one news item that would have dominated the entire news cycle for like a month back when we were young is now just like a blip before the next insane thing happens and we're overwhelmed by it and it just keeps on going.
Well, I mean, to a point.
Yeah, with so much going on, one thing that dropped recently, and some people might have missed, is that the former president of the United States, one Barack Hussein Obama, is being accused of the crime of treason by the current president, one Donald John Trump.
Yeah, no, that dominated the news cycle for about 30 seconds because everybody realized it was complete and total horseshit and he's just trying to distract from the Epstein files.
Yeah, we all kind of realize that, but let's just take this at face value for a second. So, taking questions from reporters about the accusations flying from his administration that were saying that reports about attempted Russian interference in the 2016 election, Trump says amounts to a severe crime. Quote,
"They tried to rig the election, and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that. But it's time to start, after what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. Obama's been caught directly, and Biden was there with him, and Comey was there, and Clapper, the whole group was there. Brennan, they were all there in a room. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? This was treason. This was every word you can think of."
Yeah, I mean...
You know, word salad.
Yeah. None of this surprises me. And even, Barack Obama was like, got a chuckle out of it. It's like, yeah, go for it, you fucking asshole.
Actually released a statement on it, but
yeah,
it's
they
interesting
did.
Because treason is literally the only crime that's actually directly defined in the Constitution of these United States.
Yes, but he was president, so everything he does as president is completely legal.
As long as it was an official act.
And so fucking...
So it's,
yeah.
It's even horseshit anyway, but let's just,
It's all, like, every single part of it is fucking bullshit.
We're gonna steel man Trump's argument here for a second and just for a moment consider what it says in the Constitution. So this is Article 3, Section 3, treason. We're not lawyers, but we can fucking read. Clause 1. Treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them, or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. no person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of 2 witnesses to the same overt act or on confession in open court. Clause 2. The Congress shall have power to declare the punishment of treason, but no attainder of treason shall work corruption of blood or forfeiture except during the life of the person attained. Unquote. So, first clause, they very strictly define treason, which makes sense considering the people who wrote it were complete traitors to their original country. And it's like, so they're like making sure that, you can't just go throwing around treason accusations. You're going to make sure that the crime is strictly defined. And clause 2 was talking all about the punishment side and making sure, so like the whole corruption of blood and forfeiture thing was making sure that you can only punish the actual individual, not like the old days the king could say, oh, you're a traitor and your entire bloodline will now be marked and essentially they are pre-guilty and have penalties, and then like they would fine estates even long after the traitor was executed or whatever. And this is just the Constitution saying no, you can only punish the actual person and not their families or their estate after the sentence is carried out.
Because we wanted less insane laws.
Yeah. So the whole idea was to be pretty strict about how you define treason. So even though there were earlier treason trials from like the Whiskey Rebellion, do you know who the first famous and important person that you definitely know about who was tried for treason in the United States? He's come up on our pod before.
I'm assuming it's fucking Burr.
You are correct. Ding ding ding.
And they were just like, no, everything's fine. We're not gonna do that.
It is It is in fact Aaron Burr, sir, and that's who we're going to talk about for the rest of this little mini-sode.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
let's get into it.
I think we actually did mention it back during our groundbreaking Eliza Hamilton episodes. Excellent job on that, by the way.
Thank you.
We mentioned that Mr. Burr got up to some shit after his most famous crime.
Yeah, he did.
But even then, like, what a crazy news day that was when the sitting vice president gunned down the former secretary of the Treasury. It'd be like J.D. Vance busting a cap in Janet Yellen's ass.
I'm assuming you don't want me to skip ahead.
No, we're going to get that. We're just talking about just how insane that initial thing was. Where it's like, the vice president just fucking shot somebody.
He was so batshit at that point.
So, just a quick rundown for anybody who isn't up on their Alexander Hamilton, Aaron Burr trivia. So, after blowing away the shady and crooked Alexander Hamilton, the even more shady and crooked Aaron Burr went on the lam, slinking down to the south to avoid a murder charge waiting for him in New Jersey. I think there was also an indictment in New York as well. But eventually, those were dropped, and he quietly returned to D.C. to finish his term.
Which is horseshit, but continue.
But, yeah, his political career was over. Everyone hated his ass.
Yes.
So
everyone fucking hated him because, I mean, you can't just do that.
So from Smithsonian Magazine.
You don't, I mean, even if you didn't like fucking Alexander Hamilton, nobody believed he should be gunned down in cold blood.
Yeah, and the fact that all the reports said that Hamilton was not actually firing at Burr just made it even worse, that he was just basically murdered.
Yeah. From
Smithsonian Magazine, which, enjoy that while President Trump allows it to exist.
Well, it'll still be allowed to exist. It just won't have facts.
We'll just edit out all the real stuff. So, quote, in July 1804, Burr famously shot and killed Alexander Hamilton in a duel. Later that year, Jefferson ran for re-election with a different running mate, and by March 1805, Burr was out of office. Now a political exile and accused murderer, Burr turned his gaze toward the western frontier. Unquote. So the musical Hamilton may have depicted Burr as a wait for it kind of guy, but honestly,
he really wasn't.
Seems pretty bold to me. Besides all his previous shady-ass ventures in New York, what comes next, I would call fairly bold. He decided if he couldn't hold power in the United States, he would head west and build a little kingdom of his own.
I know where it's going,
and it goes great. So Burr buddied up to General James Wilkinson, a raging alcoholic and senior officer of the United States Army, and also governor of a little territory named Louisiana. Recently purchased from the French by Mr. Jefferson.
Yep.
So Burr traveled up from Louisiana all the way up to your birthplace of St. Louis, recruiting men and local leaders and trying to establish lines of supply.
Yeah, he basically started, like, forming a tiny army.
Yeah, from Monticello.org, and please note Monticello being Jefferson's home. Quote, in the summer of 1805, Philadelphia's Gazette questioned the activities of the former vice president. Was he planning an invasion of Mexico, or perhaps plotting a revolution to separate the western states from the Union? Revolution would be treasonous. Under the right conditions, however, the man who liberated Mexico from Spanish rule could become an American hero. Unquote.
Yeah, he's basically just trying to steal the Louisiana
Burr, an American hero.
No.
Aaron Burr is really there. No?
No.
Oh, no, you're right.
No.
As if there was any doubt to where Aaron Burr's loyalties are, probably put to rest by the fact that he went to our very recent enemy, jolly old England, with an offer. From pbs.org, another website, enjoy it while it still exists. Quote, the vice president contacted Anthony Merry, Britain's minister to the United States. Burr offered to help Britain take Western territory from the United States. Merry immediately sent a dispatch to Britain detailing Burr's offer to effect a separation of the western part of the United States from the rest of the country. In return, Burr wanted money and ships to carry out his conquest. Unquote.
And ships.
Yeah.
And ships. Sorry.
Yes, please, send the guns and ships England so we can fight the United fucking States. That sure sounds kind of treasonous to my uneducated ass.
No, that was definitely treason. It was all the treason.
It may not be the legal definition of treason as we'll get into, but it certainly was not exactly. I mean, it definitely was cozying up, to try to take action against the United States. He also was kind of playing around with military assistance from Spain. Meanwhile, while he also was mounting a reconnaissance mission into the West.
Now, remind me, what year is this?
Right now, we're in 1805.
Yep. Okay. Continue.
So he continued recruiting people to the cause, building up necessary cash and supplies, and then he also got his most important disciple, in other words, the guy with the most money and a place to do some planning, a man named Harman Blennerhassett, a rich Irish lunatic who owned a small island in the middle of the Ohio River and apparently just living the fucking dream there with his wife and his kids until Aaron Burr showed up and just ruined his goddamn life. Because this guy went all in on this plan and wanted to fund it and offer his little island as a place for meetings.
Well,
turned out to be a real bad fucking idea.
I hope he loses everything. Fuck this guy. Continue.
So we jump up to November 1806. There was enough news about Burr's bullshit that President Jefferson issued a proclamation declaring military expeditions against Spain a total no-no. Quote, so this is after the beginning of the proclamation. He describes all of the shenanigans in detail. Then he goes, I have therefore thought fit to issue this my proclamation, warning and enjoining all faithful citizens who have been led without due knowledge or consideration to participate in said unlawful enterprise, to withdraw from the same without delay, and commanding all persons whatsoever engaged or concerned in the same to cease all further proceedings therein, as they will answer the contrary at their peril, and incur prosecution with all the rigors of the law. Unquote. So Jefferson's like, knock this shit off or you're going to jail.
Yeah.
And even though Burr was convinced it was right around the corner, there was no foreign assistance coming. And enough people were running their mouths about the conspiracy that papers back east started running and more talk about this Burr conspiracy. Yeah,
I mean, he has a teeny army, and we still have,
He had concepts of a plan. Actually had more than that. He actually had
a plan. He had a fucking solid-ass plan. It just got out.
It was also,
the news got out before he wanted it.
My impression is that the plan was always deeply unrealistic, even if it had gone as well as it could have. However, it didn't even do that. So anyway, in the middle of this one, everybody's already talking about this, and Jefferson's literally saying, knock this shit off, former vice president. But undeterred, Burr drafted a coded letter to General Wilkinson, the drunk, with detailed instructions. A letter that was later used at trial as evidence. So from the deposition of James Wilkinson, dated December 1806, where he's reading from this letter that had been written in code and then translated. So, quote, I, Aaron Burr, have obtained funds and have actually commenced the enterprise. Detachment from different points and under different pretenses will rendezvous on the Ohio, 1st November. Everything internal and external favors views. Protection of England is secured. T, Thomas Truxton, is going to Jamaica to arrange with the Admiral on that station. It will meet on the Mississippi. England, Navy of the United States are ready to join, and final orders are given to my friends and followers, unquote. So then the letter goes on to describe the criminal conspiracy in some detail. And this whole thing, the letter going out and all these people talking, it was just a little bit too much, and that was the tipping point. General Wilkinson decided to save his own ass by turning on his buddy Burr and going state's evidence. That's why this letter was admitted into the evidence at that deposition. The Virginia militia and a bunch of rowdy locals raided Blennerhassett's Island and trashed the place and stole all his shit and ruined his life.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, when you're a rich Irish guy living on your own private island, maybe just chill and not
get involved.
Get involved in conspiracies to carve out a kingdom in the Western territories.
I mean, it's a basic small overthrow of the government.
Yeah, and so the raid on Blennerhassett's Island caused panic to run from everybody in the conspiracy, from the lowliest little soldier all the way up to the top. And by 1807, it was all over. Burr turning himself into the authorities of the Mississippi Territory in January. But now the Mississippi Territory had their grand jury, and they failed to indict him. So Burr's like, I know the feds are coming for me, so he ran off into the Alabama wilderness and tried to make his way to Spanish-controlled Florida.
Yeah, because that's where the crazies go, is always to Florida.
Always to Florida. Quoting again from PBS.org, quote, the soldiers from Fort Stoddart captured the fugitive Aaron Burr on a February morning in 1807 on a muddy field near the hamlet of Wakefield. Burr's fall from grace seemed total. The former vice president, who had dressed as magnificently as any head of state, wore a battered beaver hat and a ragged wool coat. The dandy who had charmed women by the score sported a scruffy crop of whiskers. Aaron Burr had traveled west just 6 months before to carve out his own empire. Now he would return east to stand trial for treason. Unquote.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Now, one thing Trump has in common with Thomas Jefferson, besides being a coward, a racist, and a sex creep, is that Tommy Boy was perfectly happy to declare Burr a traitor to Congress and anyone else who would listen before there was a grand jury indictment or anything. He just said, this guy is a traitor.
Yep.
Fuck Burr.
Fuck this guy.
He had less good things to say about his former vice president than our current president does about his.
Yeah, he tried to have him murdered.
Yeah. The trial of Aaron Burr was so important to Thomas Jefferson that he was micromanaging the trial from the White House.
Not a good thing.
Yeah, from the NEH.gov, which is the National Endowment of Humanities. Another website I'm sure will be taken down eventually.
R.I.P.
Quote.
God damn it. Now I'm singing because we're all doing Hamilton. Okay, continue.
Quote, Jefferson's numerous letters to George Hay, the federal attorney who was nominally in charge, contained detailed instructions about trial strategy, evidence, and witness interrogation. Jefferson even forwarded a batch of blank pardons to be used at Hay's discretion to elicit evidence from reluctant witnesses. Unquote. Burr's lawyers were able to use the heavy involvement of the President of the United States as part of the defense.
Not good.
Yeah, again from the same article, quote, one of Burr's lawyers denounced the author of the Declaration of Independence for behaving like a king of Great Britain and for unleashing the dogs of war, the hellhounds of persecution against an innocent man for personal reasons, unquote.
Well, I mean, if you make it look that way...
Nobody's behaving well.
Nobody, yeah, I mean, the problem is all these men kind of suck.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like Thomas Jefferson's a great person
No.
or anything. So remember,
he's just better than Aaron Burr.
Yeah, and you also got to remember that Burr himself was a successful trial attorney. In fact, Alexander Hamilton, at least in the musicals, like, you're a better lawyer than me.
Which is bullshit. He would have never said that, ever.
Egomaniac. And so Burr was heavily involved in planning his own defense. It's also worth noting that the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, John Marshall, was a Federalist like Hamilton and Adams and George Washington, and he couldn't stand Thomas Jefferson and his states' rights policies. Things got so bad between the two that Jefferson was looking into impeaching Marshall before the trial was even over. Back when Supreme Court justices might be impeached for something. Not a thing we worry about anymore.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I have kind of an itchy place about states' rights. However, considering we might need to flee to a friendlier
we might
state.
Need states' rights to protect us
right
from the federal
now.
government.
We do need states' rights to protect us from the federal government. At least we have safe zones, I suppose.
Safer.
All
right.
Except for the ones they're trying to militarize and fucking take over. It's okay. Continue.
So the trial was highly political, and popular opinion was totally on Jefferson's side because Americans, as a general rule, hated Aaron Burr.
Yeah, and the treason. Don't forget the treason. If they hadn't have made it personal and made it about the treason.
So Marshall forced the other side to argue against the actual indictment, which is levying war against the United States, rather than a conspiracy to do so, which is where you get into this legal zone, which I am not qualified to talk about a lot, but here's what I got. The trial itself could be a whole podcast, but, as again, with no legal expertise, we'll just give the overview. The trial of lower-level conspirators brought a Supreme Court ruling that was crucial to Burr's case. Quote, to constitute a levying of war, there must be an assemblage of persons for the purpose of effecting by force a treasonable purpose. Enlistment of men to serve against government is not sufficient, unquote. So that's from an actual Supreme Court opinion. And so that it basically was able to severely limit what they could admit in Burr's case. So the prosecution strategy was just throw the entire pot of spaghetti at the wall. Tons of witnesses, the evidence of planning and logistics, all the shit from the raid they did against the meeting on the island of the rich Irish guy.
Yeah.
And then the fact that they were using presidential pardons to flip witnesses. Meanwhile, for the defense, Marshall demanded the proof laid out by the Constitution. There needs to be an overt act with at least 2 witnesses. And where was Burr? A lot of the evidence came from that raid on the island, but Burr wasn't there. And the way things were, it made things a little bit harder to stick to him. Marshall also picked apart the sloppy drunk General Wilkinson, who wasn't exactly revealed to be reliable about his handling of the coded letter. So that the letter itself came under question, whether the version that entered the court was legit.
Well, I mean, if you're a good lawyer, the first thing you need to do is throw out the evidence.
And it also...
It's the O.J. Simpson trial.
And while it didn't come up at trial, it was later revealed that Wilkinson was a paid fucking agent of Spain. Whoopsie. While he was at it, Marshall decided to subpoena the President of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, in a flex of judicial branch power. Quote, you are hereby commanded to appear before the judges of the Circuit Court of the United States for the Fifth Circuit in the Virginia District in the city of Richmond at the court now setting forthwith to testify in behalf of Aaron Burr in a controversy now depending between the United States and the said Aaron Burr, and to bring with you the letter from General James Wilkinson, dated the 21st day of October, 1806, mentioned in the message of the President of the 22nd of January, 1807, unquote. It's bitch, it doesn't matter you're the President. You are called before the court.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair.
Which is the way it should be.
I mean, because if you're going to fucking get yourself involved, you have to be prepared to give a statement.
Indeed. And there's a lot Jefferson could say about Burr. So there was a lot of papers in there and conspiracy talk to go through, but ultimately the jury heard no admissible overt act that proved that Burr was levying war against the United States. Despite intense public pressure and a messy-ass trial, Marshall stuck to his guns and Burr was acquitted. The verdict literally reads, quote, not proved to be guilty under this indictment by any evidence submitted to us, unquote.
Boo!
So Burr got away with it.
Boo! Proving, once again, that if you are rich and powerful enough, you can get away with literally fucking anything. Welcome to America.
Well, this was a fight over constitutional interpretation. Probably this is such an early test case, and I'm still even though I don't think it's cool that Aaron Burr got away with shit that he did, but sort of like, as terms of like the law and the ruling, I still kind of agree with it in terms of principle. I just think Aaron Burr sucks and deserved to go to prison.
He did deserve to go to prison. And, half the time when you're getting off for things, it's 90% of the time, it's because the prosecutor decided to aim too high. And if they would have given lesser charges, that could have sticked.
Yeah, he flew too close to the sun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jefferson ordered for more charges to be gathered up from earlier parts of the conspiracy, desperate to get Burr in fucking prison. And so Burr was ordered to show up for federal court in Ohio to step in front of another grand jury. But he never showed. And Ohio just kind of let the case fizzle out. Other jurisdictions took runs at him, but nothing stuck. Yet everywhere he turned, everyone hated Aaron Burr.
Teflon Burr.
So, from PBS.org, quote, "If Burr was victorious in court, he lost in the court of public opinion. Across America, he was burned in effigy. Several states filed additional charges against him, and he lived in fear for his life. Wisely, Burr fled again, this time to Europe, where he tried without success to convince Britain and France to support other North American invasion plots." Unquote. So he just kept on trying. It's just
Fucking hate him.
more weakly and ineptly as the next few years went on.
The man became a monster. He was always a narcissist, and when his dreams were thwarted, he became a fucking monster.
And I originally had thought about ending it right there because that's kind of the relevant part to the whole treason charge. But the end of Burr's life is amusing enough that we should definitely talk about it. So, we have a few more pages to go. So Burr spent a few years in exile, but in 1812 there was a whole new war with the British Empire to worry about, and Burr he was able to quietly return to New York and once again found work as a successful attorney. But there was more tragedy waiting for him, because after being apart for years, his daughter Theodosia booked passage on a ship to travel from South Carolina to New York to finally reunite with her father, despite concerns about pirates, British warships, and foul weather. From an article titled "The Unsolved Mystery of Aaron Burr's Daughter." Quote, "After saying goodbye to her husband at Georgetown on December 31st, 1812, Theodosia, the Patriot, the name of the ship, and all aboard disappeared and were never seen again. After weeks passed without word of her safe arrival in New York, her concerned father and husband began to fear the worst. Burr and Alston chose to believe that Theodosia had met her death by drowning after a severe storm sunk the Patriot. However, as word of the disaster filtered through news channels, a stream of rumors and stories emerged about her mysterious fate, and the conjecture would continue for decades." Unquote.
Yeah, because, killed by pirates is good.
Yeah. There was some deathbed confessions of some pirates who said that she was taken prisoner and bad stuff happened.
Which again, she didn't deserve. She was just a girl.
She was just a girl,
and I guess at that point she was a woman.
Oh yeah, she was a woman, and of all of Burr's faults, one of the interesting things about him was that he was an early feminist. He believed that women should have the right to vote. He made sure his daughter had an education, and there's several writings where he basically thought that his daughter was superior than most men that he knew, and thought that she should have an equal standing in society like everybody else. So.
And honestly, he probably wasn't wrong. Maybe she really was fucking awesome. And you know what? From someone who is also a daddy's girl.
Yeah. And so she either drowned or was,
I hope that she drowned.
Murdered by pirates, yes.
I hope that if she was murdered by pirates, she was just murdered.
Yeah, it sucks.
But, it's like, as much fun as we like to make piracy, it's not a good thing.
And you just know that Aaron Burr wasn't just going to go out quietly or normally, but perhaps hilariously. What happened next could easily be another full podcast episode by itself. So at 77 years old, Aaron Burr managed to marry a wealthy widow, decades younger than himself.
Yep.
And this was basically a marriage of convenience, because even though his name was personally mud, he still was part of New York high society. She had money from her dead husband, but she literally strategically married Aaron Burr just to have access to the right social circles and all that, because he was, New York royalty, because his parents were rich.
Yeah, and he fucked her over.
Oh,
she got
he immediately started spending all her fucking money and shamelessly cheating on her. Like, I looked at the figure, and it's like basically is like within the first 6 months of them being married, he'd spent the equivalent of like what now would be like $400,000.
Yeah.
Just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, and then, and
yeah, and he spent it on his mistresses. Yeah. It's like, it was very humiliating. So,
like, well, I'm the husband.
What did she do?
So,
she took him to court, because we talked about this in my episode.
From a book about this famous estate, the book titled Morris Jumel Mansion, and talking about Eliza Jumel was the name of this lady before she became Mrs. Aaron Burr. Quote, Eliza was one of the wealthiest widows in New York. However, she sought additional security in terms of her place in society. Her marriage to former Vice President Aaron Burr in 1833 bolstered her footing among the New York elite. The marriage was solely out of convenience for both sides. Aaron Burr was 77 when they married, and he was looking for a source of funds to assist him to cover his expenses. Eliza quickly saw his endgame and also learned of his infidelity with a much younger woman. Eliza sued for divorce. In an interesting turn of events, her lawyer was Alexander Hamilton's son.
Yeah, it was.
Perhaps this was delayed karma for Aaron Burr, who had shot and killed Hamilton 30 years prior. Unquote.
Yes, it was.
So yeah, Burr had to literally face Alexander Hamilton Jr. in court.
And they filed the petition on either Alexander Hamilton's birthday or the day that he died. It was a significant date.
I didn't catch that here, but I do remember that. I think it was like the date that Alexander Hamilton died. It was the day they filed it.
It was a big fuck you.
Yeah. And it kept going. So this was an incredibly big, public, costly trial. This is another one where it's like this cost this woman what would now be hundrds of thousands of dollars in legal fees.
And it was scandalous, but she didn't give a fuck. I so respect her and love her for this.
He accused her of having like multiple male lovers, because if she was found, like in the New York law, if she was found guilty of adultery, then she couldn't even file for divorce. You're just stuck with your husband. But in the end, though, she probably thought the money was well spent, because during all of this 3 years of this divorce dragging on, Burr's health declined just throughout the whole thing. He suffered multiple.
Yes, it did. He suffered multiple strokes.
Yep, he was partially paralyzed. And finally, on September 14th, 1836, Judge Philo T. Ruggles, what a name, signed the divorce decree. And on that same day, Aaron Burr dropped dead. Alexander Hamilton Jr. victorious, and this woman free of him, and America finally done with Aaron Burr. The end.
Yay! So, yeah, it's like on one hand, it's like she could have possibly just waited it out, but at the same time, it also probably stopped him from being able to spend her money, so fuck that guy.
Yeah, just the fact that, he got, I don't even know if he knew that he was officially divorced the day he died, but it didn't matter. It made her feel good. It was a very chef's kiss to her. And it's just
it's like, I'm divorced and you're dead. Fuck you.
And that just sort of bizarre karmic thing where it's like, he files the files for divorce. Alexander Hamilton Jr. does it on the day his father died, and then he wins the case on the day Aaron Burr dies. So it's just poetry, chef's kiss.
Yep.
I like it, but I don't like Aaron Burr.
No, he was a total piece of shit.
He was a piece of shit, where it's like not the sympathetic anti-hero of the musical. Of course, Alexander Hamilton, not the flawed hero either, but also a crooked bastard.
Oh yeah, for sure. Again, the musical isn't history. It's just fun.
It's a good story. The musical is great, but just don't think you're seeing who these people really were. See our George Washington episodes at the very beginning to get a clue what that guy was like.
Lin-Manuel Miranda, he wanted people. He was like, look, if this gets you interested and it, leads you to the history of it, it's like, that's more of what he wanted. It's like, I want to entertain you, but
yeah, he was telling a story inspired by history. If you think you're going to see a stage play of any kind that's going to teach you real history, then I got. It's like, yeah. Don't watch movies either. Thinking you're getting real history. That's a whole other genre. But anyway,
art is art.
That is how everything old is new again. We got a president of the United States accusing someone of treason, this time a former president instead of a vice president, and it's also not going to stick.
Well, it's not going to stick because it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Not because it's like, well, you should have just you should have aimed for lesser charges.
Jefferson should have taken a Trump route and just sent an angry mob after Aaron Burr to hang him. Because back then it totally would have happened.
And that's the question, too, is why didn't it?
Oh.
I guess by the time you get back to New York, everybody just kind of forgot.
Yeah, well, they were busy at war again, so.
That is true.
And after that, he was just an old-ass lawyer.
He did die kind of penniless because he did get cut off before.
Yeah, mommy's money got cut off and all of his old funds were long gone. It's the reason why he married her in the first place.
Yeah.
He was in debt and a lot of his financial schemes had gone tits up.
And she was able to freeze the money from him.
Yep, no, he
So when he did have fucking... So that last 3 years of his life was fucking rough.
If I remember, I read, like, very briefly when I was doing research, but I didn't include this in my notes, but I think there is a place you can go where the house that he was staying in, and there's a room where you can still say to this day, and it says, Aaron Burr died here.
Yeah.
So, look that up, have fun with that. Alright, well, that's enough about Aaron Burr, he's dead, fuck him.
Yeah, fuck him, and I guess fuck this episode, we done.
Yeah, and, yeah. I'm going to predict that the treason charge against Obama is going to be less successful than the one on Aaron Burr, which also was a total failure.
Okay. All right, guys.
Well, have fun, living in the end of America. We'll catch you soon.
Bye.